I have a few scars on my body. Right here, when a wire sticking out from a fence ripped open my elbow. One on my calf when I scorched my flesh on the exhaust pipe of a motorcycle. A few others that I won't bore you with, but they're all from accidents or misfortune that happened to me when I was a child. More than 30 years ago, by the way. And yet I remember them all so vividly. That's the thing about scars, isn't it? Every scar is a memory. Every scar reveals an unfortunate accident or maybe a random act of stupidity or some kind of injustice. And I'm sure you have your own visible scars on your body. Or maybe your scars are less visible and yet they run much deeper. Because we also have scars that are the result of a deep woundedness of the soul. We have emotional scars. However we got them, those scars remind us that life isn't fair. They remind us that life can be painful, that life can involve being hurt. And every time we look at the scar, we remember the story. Joseph in the Bible had his share of scars. He was abandoned by his own brothers, thrown into a pit and sold into slavery. He was accused falsely and thrown into prison. I'm sure he carried the scar of missing his father and longing to be in his presence again. He had many ups and downs in his life, and yet God made him rise to the top, put him second in command in Egypt, and saved the country from famine. And in so doing, also his brothers and his family who came from Canaan looking for food. The amazing thing is when Joseph faced his brothers after all those years, he said this to them in Genesis 50 verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. You meant to hurt me, but God turned your evil into good to save the lives of many people. I mean, Joseph had every right to see himself as a victim and take revenge right there and then. And yet he does not view his physical and emotional scars as reasons for despair or revenge. Instead, he sees his scars as signs of God's providential grace, sees them as evidence of God's plans for his life and for the world. I think we're all familiar with 20/20 vision. 20/20 vision is like perfect vision, right? Do you know what this is here with Joseph in Genesis? This is 50/20 vision. Genesis 50 verse 20 vision. The 50/20 vision of scars. The manner Joseph views what happened to him in his life. Looking at what happened to him in life this way. You tried to harm me, but God made it turn out for the best. You plotted evil against me, but God turned it into good. You did it as a self-serving act. God used it to preserve life. So what if we don't try to see all those things that cause scars in our lives with 20/20 vision? Wanting to understand all that has happened to us clearly and completely, wanting an explanation from God for everything. What if we look at them with 50/20 vision instead? Because Joseph's 50/20 vision tells us that in spite of all the evidence to the contrary, God is still at work. God is making things good despite the way they appear. We suffer the scars, but the wounds of this life are not ultimately fatal for those who put their trust in God. That is why the Apostle Paul, even while he was suffering in prison with many scars of his own, could say this: we know that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. It says we can be so sure that every detail in our lives of love for God is worked into something good. So let me ask you then, what scars do you carry? What are the physical, emotional, psychological, or spiritual scars that mark your life? Could they maybe become signs of healing? Is it possible that your scars can bring new vision of life for you and even other people you meet? Joseph looked at his scars of slavery and saw that God had a saving plan for his life and the lives of his people. And maybe the scars you carry can enable you to speak into the pain of someone else's life. Maybe when you show that scar of past abuse, it may help someone else to have the courage to seek healing. Maybe if you reveal that pain of loss, it may put you in a powerful position to help someone else who's grieving. Maybe if you share the scars of numerous failures and disappointments before you finally succeeded, it'll give someone else the courage and hope to continue trying. We didn't ask for these scars, right? And God didn't inflict them upon us. And scars never go away, and your scars may never go away. And yet the scars of Joseph remind us that the tears we shed and the emotional pain we experience and the heartache of loss and whatever other ways in which we get injured or hurt will all become memories one day. We still bear the marks, but they don't have to hurt us any longer. And with God's Spirit and strength, they can be signs of healing for us and for the world. That's if we look at the scars in our lives with 50-20 vision.